Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened. And then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me in Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here with Rob and Ashley once again. And, folks, how we doing this week?
Oh, I'm all right. How about you, True Love?
I'm okay. Did you remember to hit record while I'm thinking of it?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Usually you announce that beforehand.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't this time. It happened once, folks. I don't know if you've been listening to the show for a long time. There is a lost episode that got sent off into the ether because I didn't press record. But you do something once, they never forget about it, folks. So.
I don't have this conversation twice.
No, I don't either. Yeah, we're definitely kicking the show off on a pretty somber note here. Of course, if you're listening to this, you probably have already figured out what we're about to talk about. Scott Bloomquist, of course, passed away last Friday. I mean, if you don't know who Scott Bloomquist is, let me tell you, he is inarguably the greatest dirt late model driver of all time, just by stats alone. There are other greats as well, but none of them quite did it the way Scott did. Fiercely independent, just a fucking... I hate the term American badass because it's so corny, but I don't think there's really anything that personifies a particular person more than that.
It was a great term until Kid Rock ruined it.
Exactly, yeah, but Scott Bloomquist really was the OG, that's for sure.
Yeah, we joked last week about, all these... fake AI headlines of drivers and plane crashes and stuff, and unfortunately Friday morning we woke up to one that we hoped was fake, but was not.
Yeah, there was a lot of chatter, and again, like, people are so used to misinformation, and everyone's like, "There's no fucking way this is true," There's a Kyle Petty quote when Dale died about the cowboy's not supposed to die, and Scott Bloomquist is certainly in that league. Let's just run through the stats real quick. Over 600 feature wins, which is fucking nuts. 9 national championships, 3-time Lucas Oil late model champion. Got a bunch of Have a Tampa champions. Won the World Outlaws in 2004. He's won the late model Dream 8 times, 4 World 100s, and he's won just about everything else you can possibly win. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the stat sheet. I would recommend, if you don't know who Scott is, or you just know his name through the show or just in passing, I know a lot of NASCAR fans might not be aware, but Dale Jr.'s download episode with Scott is a really, really good entry point, and I would really recommend giving that a listen if you have a chance and a couple hours to hear some wild shit, because Scott Bloomquist certainly lived an insane life, and in death as well. I mean, he's was a walking fucking folk hero and folk tale. It sounds, half the shit he's been through, it sounds made up, but it wasn't. But I know a lot of people are really, really hurting. Scott was definitely a tough competitor and a genius when it came to car building. And not always the nicest guy to be around, but kind of like, the parallels between this and Dale Earnhardt dying are, they're pretty similar in my opinion, at least in the stature in their respective realms, or not even really, just in general. But like Dale, Scott had a really good side to him too, and he was down to help you out. And he mentored a lot of people, including Tyler Reddick being one of them. Nick Hoffman, another. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's so many people that he's worked with over the years, and he made the sport better. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm one of these people. I try not to, let myself get too caught up in the sadness of a celebrity death or whatever. I didn't know fucking Scott Bloomquist at all. I've had a couple interactions with him, but we're not friends by any stretch of the imagination. But this one really hit me, and I know it hit a lot of my friends really hard. I left work early on Friday. I went and got a bottle of Crown, and which is what Scott would have like to drink, and yeah, just kind of sat there and thought about it, and yeah, it's been a rough few days, and it's going to continue to be a rough few days. I guess I'm going to be able to go to his memorial service at Eldora, since they're doing it on Saturday morning of the World 100. So I was saying to you guys before we started recording, I did not have going to fucking Scott Bloomquist's funeral on my bingo card for this year, but I guess I'll be doing that, and I'll be proud to be there, and along with the rest of the late model community there at Eldora, and we'll send them off, I guess. But I mean, you guys have any thoughts on this? I mean, there's not a ton. I mean, there's so much to say, but it's just such a weird thing to talk about, you know.
Yeah. I mean, definitely going to be one of the biggest regrets of my racing fandom is never having seen him race. I mean, I'm open to admitting that I really have not gotten as exposed to dirt late model stuff up until the last few years, and just never got the chance. I mean, I was definitely looking forward to seeing him at the World 100, and just wanted to shake the guy's hand, and you know, not going to be able to get that chance now. And I mean, he's just such a insanely larger than life character, and you know, kind of like up there with John Force as far as the biggest personalities in all of motorsports. And
absolutely.
You know, aside from obviously what he accomplished on the track, just who he was as a person. And you know, even if you want to, you know, unfortunately talk about the way he went out, you know, there's lots of stuff flying around about what happened with the plane crash, and if it was intentional or not. And I'm sure we'll probably never hear the entire story, but at the same time, it'll come
out in due time, I think. I don't want to spend any time really talking about any of that shit. If you want to know, you can Google it. There's a lot of information and probably misinformation out there if you want to kind of dig into the nuts and bolts of this thing. But at the end of the day, we lost the greatest of all time, and we never really got to see him make a comeback from his injuries, and that fucking sucks. And at the very least, you know, 60's young, and I know he had a lot more to give, whether, you know, he thought that or other people thought that or not. You know, I missed the opportunity to actually go up and talk to him and shake his hand at Eldora when I was at the Dream last year. And there's two opportunities. One of them was I was coming out of the shitter, so that felt inappropriate. But it was just it was behind the main grandstands on this big sidewalk leading into the track, and there was nobody out there. It was like 2 p.m, and I opened the door, and there's fucking the Voodoo Child himself just walking up, and I kind of nod at him, you know, howdy. He's like, howdy. And I was like, fuck. But there was also an interview that he did with Ruben, the announcer from the World of Outlaws. He did a Q&A, and this is before we knew he had prostate cancer. I mean, that was also rumored. The news was kind of out, but it wasn't public knowledge. And he was kind of talking about his comeback and how he was going to be back in a race car, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I never in 1,000 years would have imagined that when we were talking, when he climbed out of the car after flipping at the Dream this year in that heat race, that would have been the last time he ever raced there. It's fucking crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, for me, he was the first dirt driver that I ever remember learning about as a kid, because my dad was a big fan of his, you know, in the 90s. But I have spent like all day today rewatching that interview of him on Dale Jr., and it's just 2 hours of gold. But the one part in it that kind of bummed me out was he was telling stories about how, you know, he sung on stage with Pantera, and he's watched Marilyn Manson put makeup on, and, you know, no other driver can say that. But he was like, I'll save those stories for the book. And it's like, man,
I hope that book got put to paper, man. I really hope that shit's written down, because but if not, there's a wealth of you can find the stories. They're out there, and he's told a lot of them, and I encourage you to go out there and check them out, because again, this guy's just a fucking legend. And I got a little shot of Crown here. I've been drinking a lot of it over the past few days, and I'm not going to treat this podcast any differently, so I'm going to raise my little glass here to Scott Bloomquist. Fucking no weak links, baby. You know, Crown's pretty good. I haven't drank it in a long time.
Is it?
I was, I don't know. I always thought it was like, real rough for whatever reason. But this goes down pretty smooth. So I think I'm a Crown guy now. But yeah,
start collecting your little velvet bags.
They don't have the bags anymore, man. It's fucking bullshit. Yeah, it's just a raw glass bag or bottle, a glass bag. Oh well.
Well, now that we got the sad part out of the way,
getting to Brian's personal sadness now.
Yeah, I had a weekend attempting, second year in a row, attempting to go to the Michigan Cup race and it not working out. But we'll get into that in a second. This weekend, there was an ARCA race that was won by Connor Zillett. It was his fourth ARCA start and his fourth win of the year. So
Springfield
really
Mile, right? Springfield.
No,
I thought that was ARCA races this year.
Yeah, there was two. Weekend. There was one at ARCA and then there was a dirt race.
Oh, right.
One at
Michigan. The dirt race was won by William Sawalich, who led every lap.
Yeah.
But yeah, really no shock that kid's getting a full-time Xfinity ride next year. I mean,
no.
Yeah, he's real good. So that definitely happened. And I didn't. We were kind of, my buddy Mike flew in Saturday, and we caught most of the Xfinity race. And after announcing that he and Sam Mayer were going to be moving over to the Haas racing team next year, Sheldon Creed went and got his 78th second place finish. Yet again, such a bummer. I know you guys aren't Creed fans. I am, and I would really love to get some sort of.
I don't mind him, but
I'm neutral on him.
Didn't he pass the Daniel Hemrick's second place record?
He did. He now holds the record for, I think it's 11 runner-ups with no win.
What a fucking unenviable stat that is.
And you guys are going to have to fill me in a little bit as to what happened at the very end, because Mike and I went out to dinner, and we got there pretty much right as the race was ending. But I had the scoreboard up on my phone, and I was just looking. I was like, what the hell? Red flags, yellow flags, overtime? I don't know what the hell happened there. So, fill me in if you could.
At the very end, there was a hard crash by Kyle Weatherman, which brought out the yellow, and then during that it started raining, which brought out the red. And then they had a restart, and then Allgaier won, but Creed was catching him, and if it had went all the way, Creed might have caught him, but there was that big wreck on the last lap where Kyle Sieg flipped upside down, so it finished under caution.
Yeah,
that was an ugly hit, very ugly hit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that's what I missed.
Yeah, thanks, Trilum. I didn't watch it either, so I really appreciate you doing the work.
There were some other big wrecks earlier where Austin Hill cleared himself, and then Riley Herbst cleared himself.
Yeah.
And
I did see the Herbst one, so great that he might be getting a cup ride next year. Man, as much as I like that dude, then he goes and does something like that, so that was lovely.
Well, we all made
He had tweeted earlier, RIP 98, because Haas isn't bringing that number back. And then he went and RIP'd himself, so.
Yeah. He took it a little too literally.
I just, listen, I bet on Creed just about every race, and I just want to return one of these times. So hopefully that'll happen by the end of the year. So
Fool me once, right?
Yeah.
Also during the Xfinity race, though, was when we were treated to that drunk lady on the Rascal scooter.
Yes. Talk about full heroes.
I did see that clip. Unfortunately, I didn't see her Sunday, but that was pretty badass. Anytime you see an old lady
maybe
partying.
no one saw her Sunday.
Wheeled off into the sunset after that Xfinity race.
Went to jail for a DUI.
Can you get a DUI in a Rascal?
Well, I mean, maybe.
I don't think so. I think you got to be on a. I think you got to be on a road.
Well, we don't know what happened Saturday night, but yeah, that was fucking awesome. I love that.
She was great.
Whenever I end up in a Rascal, that's a little preview of what it's going to look like. Just zipping around at 15 miles an hour with a drink in my hand. It sounds good.
They showed it 2 separate times. Oh, okay, correct.
Yeah, the dogs are still in this Applebee's. There's a lot.
Somebody's walking around. So.
Oh no!
No wonder our server hasn't come over in a little while. So you were in Michigan on Saturday night, right?
No. I mean,
okay.
We just drove up Sunday morning.
Gotcha.
That's all. So Sunday morning we wake up and it's raining here in Cleveland, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. We're almost 3 hours away from the track, so we make our way to the track, me and Mike, and get there, and it's sunny and it's nice out, and we only had to wait in like 20 minutes of traffic maybe to get in. It really wasn't that bad. So by the time we got out of the car, it was about 1 o'clock, and we start walking over, and finally, bitch, it's race day. The shirt is in my hands. Now, Mike wanted one.
You gotta tell
too.
me this story. I need to hear how you finally got it done.
I mean, it was really just like as we were approaching the track, finally we spotted the guy, and I don't even know, it might have been the guy I've seen multiple times. I feel like these guys travel all the fucking races with these shirts, but it was like $30 or 2 for $50, and Mike wanted one anyway, so it's like, all right, fine, you got 2 of them. And nice. Finally, it's like, all right, well, at least one good thing has happened so far today, and Mike really wanted to check out the gypsy tents, so we start walking over towards those. Now, if you guys have never been to Michigan, we park kind of behind where turn 1 would be, I mean, theoretically, and from the parking lot over to the actual track itself, there's a big bridge, and there were more than one of these guys selling the Bitch It's Race Day shirts, but there was also a guy, I gotta look up exactly what he said, because when he said it, Mike and I just burst out fucking laughing. What the hell did he say? It was like dickhead something. I'm looking up my notes here. What the hell did he say? Oh, certified dickhead, just screaming certified dickhead shirts. And Mike and I just immediately just burst out laughing. That was amazing.
You get a pair of those too?
So, didn't get those. No, one offensive shirt I'll rarely wear is enough for the day.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, like I said, Mike wanted to check out the gypsy tents, and I didn't really expect much out of them this year because last year they were trash, and they're still trash. The only thing I bought was like an old Jeff Burton hat. Well, one of 2 things I bought. We'll get to that in a second. As we're walking around, though, I get to one tent, and the guy's got some older stuff, and I'm digging around. He's like, I like your shirt. You an Ernie fan, or you just wearing that? I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, in the back of my mind, like, of all the fucking people to try to call out for their shirt, you're gonna call me out? Like, you don't fucking know my history with this shirt and this driver, motherfucker. So then he starts going off on some story, trying to tell me a story about Ernie's merch sales from the comeback year, and he fucks it up immediately saying, at Bristol when he came back. Like, no, motherfucker, he did not come back at Bristol. You mean North Wilkesboro. Actually, you mean Martinsville. That's where he tried to come back first, and it got rained out. Do not fucking try me. And he had a bunch of overpriced shit anyway, so that was the end of my interaction with that fucking guy. So right off the bat, I'm pissed off. We had forgotten koozies, so we just wanted to get some cheap discount koozies before the race, and
this is great.
We were just digging through some koozies, and Mike got a Kyle Busch one, and I grabbed one from TriStar Motorsports, which I didn't recognize the signature.
I did immediately.
Until I got in the track, and I'm kind of looking at it more closely, and I was like, wait a second. This is Corey LaJoie. You got to be fucking kidding me.
Right.
The one year he drove this car, some reason they made koozies for it, and I have a fucking Corey LaJoie koozie.
Yes, you do.
Not to mention the fact we get to our seats. Guess whose fucking pit stall we're sitting right in front of? Corey fucking LaJoie.
Yeah,
so,
baby.
That's what I had to deal with.
How much did you pay for that?
They were 2 for $5, so thankfully it was not breaking the bank. That's where the day is already going downhill. It didn't even get into the fact that we, after the gypsy tent and everything, we go and get our Zins. There was no zone booth there, unfortunately, because they weren't on the car. They weren't on Kyle Busch's car that weekend. But the Zins were there. We get to the Zin tent, and granted, this was a little bit later in the day. They had all flavors of 3s left, but in 6s they only had cinnamon and coffee. So I'd never had cinnamon before, so that's what I got.
How is that?
It's fine. It's very, very subtle. Probably the most subtle flavor of all the ones I've tried.
Interesting. I avoid those like the plague because that just sounds fucking disgusting to me.
See, that's what I thought about the coffee ones, and then I had it, and it's like, it's okay, but it's just too sweet for me. Like, I don't know, I like mint. Mike, but
yeah, True Love's drifting off to sleep over here.
Yep.
Anyway,
head off the table. They're gonna kick us out of here.
So, every single gate when we got there had a line out the ass, like hundreds of people deep. And after we entered the Zin tent, like, okay, we got like 20 minutes, and we're still in line when we hear the cars fire up. And it's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. But I don't want to say thankfully. They immediately shut them back off because it started raining.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, sitting at home, there was a lot of discussion amongst like some buddies, friends of the program, our group chat. It's like, boy, there is fucking nobody there.
Yeah,
that's because everybody was outside.
Yeah, exactly. And then they showed that overhead shot, and then we were getting texts from you about how like you were still standing in line, and just the sea of people that was waiting, and how long that line was to get into the track. It's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's fucking
I've been to many racetracks, all sorts of different races. I can't say I've ever experienced that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty frustrating. Not to mention the fact that, man, all fucking week NASCAR saw the weather report, and it's like you've only done it a couple times, but you've done it before where you could have moved the race up like an hour or two. Like you're on USA Network, you weren't on one of the main networks. Like I don't even know what else was on TV that day.
Law and Order. It's the only thing they show on USA.
And it's like, so I listened to the teardown today, and Bootlicking Bianchi was like, well, TV ratings and advertiser dollars prove that starting later in the day makes sense, and well, yeah, it might be at the detriment of the people at the track, but that's how NASCAR makes money. It's like, fuck off, dickhead. Like this was the biggest spectator sport in America for decades, and the sport is built on people at the track, and not to mention the fact you're going to make people come back the next day and spend more money on hotel rooms and all this shit. And it's like, at the very least, like, you could have started earlier, and you could have definitely got an official race in.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan's right, though. That is exactly why they hesitate so much to do that shit. And they typically won't do it day of. And I don't know what the forecast was. I'll be honest, I didn't get my eye on it.
It was shit all week. It was shit all week. All week. There was rain on the schedule.
And they moved Loudon up a full hour this year, and it was great. Obviously it rained like a motherfucker, but
if they had done that, they absolutely could have got in at least 120 laps, but they didn't. And so it was about a 2-hour delay to get the race started, and it didn't rain crazy. Like, we didn't even get out of our seats. Like, we had I still had my poncho from North Wilkesboro, so that came in handy.
You still had a nice cold beer, courtesy of that Corey LaJoy koozie.
Yeah. So we just kind of sat in stands and waited it out, and eventually they got it started around 4-ish, and the first stage was great. I thought it was really fun. Trying to see Denny catch up to Larson, and I know you guys missed it live because I think they were in a commercial break, but the pass that Bubba made on the both of them, like, we're finally like watching Denny, and he's finally getting to Larson on the front stretch, and all of a sudden out of fucking nowhere, Bubba flies right around him. I was like, that was badass. And then
that's how Larson got the lead too, though. Guys got too wide, and he took advantage of the giant arrow hole that got punched, and he went right to the front.
And then about 3-4 laps later, Denny spun in front of us. With that, and being that it was at pretty much the end of the stage, I went to take a bathroom break and got back, and they were just about to restart, and then it started raining again, and that was pretty much all she wrote. I think they waited about an hour-ish, and they were about to start the cars again, and then it rained again, and
they brought him out. They brought him out.
They brought him out and brought him right back in, and we were watching the weather report on the way back, like, waited probably 20-30 minutes to figure out what was going on. The sun was out. I was like, all right, well, they could probably still get, not a full race, but I mean an official race in by 8-ish, and nope, they called it, and I'm looking at the weather on the way back. I'm pretty sure it didn't rain at all, and they could have gotten 120, 140 laps in, and just so disappointing because what we saw yesterday was a great race. Like, And I missed a goddamn Corey LaJoy flip. I could have been there for a Corey LaJoy flip and a Tyler Reddick win. Yeah. And nope, I was sitting at work watching it on my phone. So.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this because I at the racetrack a lot. From a sporting standpoint, I understand the need to get the entire race in. You don't want to race into halfway. You just don't. Like from a sporting perspective. As a fan, that's what I would have wanted to, and I would have been annoyed if I was in your shoes as well. But especially with what the playoffs are and all that shit, like they have to keep. They can't be awarding race wins and playoff spots to guys who ran half the laps, in my opinion. And I know there's an official race rule and blah blah blah, but I can totally understand their want to try and get the entire thing in. And again, TV's already got their ads in. They got the whole window. If they're not going to fill that, again, it's USA. It's just fucking Law and Order for 36 hours a day. They managed to get 36 hours of Law and Order into a single day of programming at USA. It's quite impressive. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and it sucks, but I do appreciate that. Sorry, True Love.
Oh, you're fine. Just before we start talking about Monday, I just wanted to backtrack a little bit and ask Brian if once you got up to the front of the line, did you figure out what the holdup was?
Yeah.
Was it just because some 80-year-old woman was checking coolers too slow, or?
No, because I think they were just understaffed because there were only there was one kid in the line we were in. There was one kid checking coolers and one kid checking tickets, and that was it. So at Darlington, for instance, because that's the track I go to most often. There's always multiple people in each line, so shit moves pretty fast. And again, I had my tickets on my phone. Cell service was not great, but I had them already saved and ready to go because I wasn't, I've learned my lesson as far as that shit's concerned. So, right. We were right in once we actually got to the front of the line. But the next day with probably maybe less than half the crowd, same exact thing happened. There were photos. Fortunately, Brett Griffin posted a very good photo from the spotter stand of, again, a sea of people waiting to get in and missing the restart of the race on Monday. So, again, I don't know what the fuck is going on with Michigan and their staffing, but hopefully they figure it out for next year if I even try going back next year. But I say that, but I mean, just because I'm pissed off, I'm sure I'll try to go back because the race is really good there. But
we'll see you next year.
Did you even have time to get any track food while you were there for 15 minutes?
No, that's the thing is Michigan, especially compared to Darlington, they don't have anything special. They had $10 Little Caesar slices and then a few food trucks and stuff, but no, we didn't. We ended up going to a Toledo staple called Tony Paco's on the way home to get chicken paprikash, which was very good, and they had some autographed hot dog buns, including George Jones and Tucker Carlson there. So
okay. Yeah. Also, could you tell the people about the cutout that you saw?
Oh yeah, some dickheads in all tie-dye shirts. There's 5 or 6 of them were a few rows down and over from us, but they were carrying a cardboard cutout of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. just wearing underwear. Don't know why, but that's what they had. So, yeah, I don't know what else. I mean, if you guys have any other questions, I can answer. But I mean, that pretty much sums up my day as far as Michigan's concerned. Just a bummer, stressful. But.
Yeah.
It sounds like a racetrack that has not had a crowd like that in a long time. No,
I mean, last year they had a decent crowd from what I remember, and it seemed like once everybody was in the stands and actually watching the race, it was definitely not sold out, but it was definitely not empty either. Yeah. So yeah, just disappointed that I've 2 years in a row that I've only gotten not even half a race in. So
you watched 50 laps at Michigan.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that sucks, man. I hate to hear that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my weekend, and then Monday. I mean,
good show.
What do we have to say about? Yeah, it was a good race, absolutely good race.
Yeah, those big ass 2-mile tracks. Well, I guess there's only one of them left now since Auto Club is going to be an Amazon warehouse, but they have always put on a good show with this car for whatever reason.
Yeah.
People talk about the intermediates being a lot better with the Gen 7 or Next Gen, whatever it's called. I'll never get that right, for fuck's sake. But I think the best racing we've seen was at the 2-milers. And that was on display again on Monday, I thought. And Sunday as well.
really unfortunate. Kyle Larson took out a good portion of the contenders, including Bubba Wallace, who, you know, obviously Tyler, you know, had the car to beat Monday, but Bubba probably would have been right up there had he not got involved in that wreck. I mean, he managed to stay on the lead lap and not totally ruin his day because, you know, Buescher ended up in the top 10, but Chastain, he spun late and that messed up his run. And, you know, he's still on the bubble with at least one track left. He's got, you know, pretty good chance at, so we'll see how that goes. And,
could have been worse, that's for sure. Could have been better, but it could have been worse.
Could have been better, yeah.
Yeah.
We also had that weird 3 cars getting flats within like a lap of each other.
Yep.
That was
everyone testing the limits of how little tire pressure they get away with, and Joey Logano in particular learning exactly where that limit was.
Mm-hmm. And then once again, there's caution issues. Austin Cindric hit the wall really hard and should have brought out a caution and didn't. And then with 4 or 5 whatever laps to go, Truex brushes the wall and brings out a caution. And
I mean,
thankfully,
that was a pretty good lick. I think throwing a yellow in that occurrence would have been fine. I don't have a problem with it, but the fact that Austin Cindric not bringing out a yellow for a much visibly worse wreck, that makes zero fucking sense to me.
Yeah, that's where my problem lied.
Yeah, it's more of a...
Like, they hit that button so fast. Like, Truex hadn't even thought about hitting the wall yet, and they had already hit it. It felt like.
And Cindric straight up wrecked. That was an actual wreck. It was a wreck.
Yeah.
No yellow. Yeah, so I'm gonna need someone to explain that one to me. Again, like if you're gonna, I don't care which way you want to call it. You know, if you want to call a yellow for something like Truex, you know, that's acceptable to me as long as it's consistent across the board, not just because it's in the last fucking 3 laps of the race.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that set up. Obviously, there were 2 green-white checkers. I forget, what was the caution that brought out the one in between?
Chastain.
Oh, yeah, Chastain spun.
Chase Elliott and somebody
else. That was
else.
after the checkers.
That was after. Who else was involved in this? It doesn't matter, I guess. Chastain didn't hit anything. It just brought the yellow out.
Yeah, I think he just went to the grass.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a deal where, you know, Tyler almost, I mean, even after that first restart though, I mean, he got out to a lead again, and unfortunately the way they looped it, the timing scoring loop, it put Byron in the lead for the very last restart, but thankfully, you know, Reddick got a good push from Ty Gibbs, and
thanks, Ty.
You know, he kept the well-deserved win without any controversy, so that was good to see.
Yeah,
I think
God
obviously
wanted that one to happen. Tyler Reddick to win that race, especially with this connection to Scott Bloomquist. I really took that one to heart, and him shouting out on the front stretch was that was really nice. I know that a lot of dirt racing folks love to shit on NASCAR any chance they get, but seeing that, it was pretty much united and, you know, a nice little fuck yeah from that corner of the world for Tyler acknowledging. So that was awesome. I love to see that.
Yeah, I appreciated that Reddick did that before he thanked anyone else. He didn't thank sponsors. He didn't thank anyone. It was Scott Bloomquist first and foremost.
Yeah, it's funny.
Right.
So go ahead.
Right before we started recording, a little video clip dropped of Reddick talking about that again, and he said in that interview, he said, if I had dominated that race in true Scott fashion, my plan was to get out and crotch chop the crowd.
Yes.
But and he said I didn't win it quite like that, so I didn't.
Yeah, that's of course referencing that big win at Eldora where Scott did just that. It was awesome.
Yeah. Some great pictures pop up from that of little baby teenage Reddick with his long hair. So I like to think Scott influenced his long hair too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Aside from that, though, we got to mention once again, Spire Motorsports having a mostly good day with you know, Zane Smith has finally turned it around and he's been running really well.
Yeah, Zane got 7th place and Carson Hocevar ended up in 10th, and then
Corey LaJoie flipped himself. Just literally like can't even pass one fucking car without fucking up. Like he tried to make some excuse like you know Noah jumped out on me. No, he didn't. He absolutely didn't.
Well, no,
You like went.
Noah got into it the lap previous.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of set up what happened the next lap, where literally the exact same thing happened. But, and I don't know, people are trying to say that maybe Noah came off the wall a little bit, but I don't know why you would try and block somebody with the very, 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 very left quarter of your car at 200 miles an hour. It just makes no fucking sense why you would do that.
I see it as Corey went to bump his bump his corner. That's what it looked like to me, and then just flipped himself.
That was my first thought too. Yeah,
absolutely.
And there's been a bunch of like talk about why the car flipped the way it did, and I know on the teardown, Bianchi was saying something about the wind being really, really bad that day, and apparently there was like a meteorologist that chimed in and said like it was like a 30-mile-an-hour gust of wind that was happening at that moment. So maybe that was why.
Like crazy at the track.
Yeah.
My theory was that Corey had heard that you bought a koozie, and he was so excited that he sold merch that he just lost his train of thought for a second, and then that was
it still discount merch from 6 years ago. He was excited about that.
And then that was it.
I think it was just God's will.
Yeah.
I mean, these cars have a flipping problem. I mean, they have a giant fucking piece of carbon fiber on the bottom, so when they do get sideways at the right speed, and we saw it with Ryan Preece at Daytona, it was the same thing. Again, this is why they took the fucking grass out. Because
he didn't really flip violently until he caught the grass.
Yeah, it was pretty lazy, and he just kind of slid on his roof, and then he caught the grass, and it really took off then. But yeah, those that's not something we're getting away from here. They're not about to take the arrow off the bottom of the car. That's kind of what the whole thing is built off of, from what I gather. So you're gonna keep seeing this.
Yeah, there's a great radio from Hamlin, who was riding around in the back yesterday after his trouble. So he was right behind Corey when he flipped, and he comes over the radio to his team and goes, LaJoie is just out of control, man. Fuck me. Just his own worst enemy. And then on Denny's podcast, I listened to it. He said, I'm never running around LaJoie to see how he races. But he said I was yesterday because of, where I put myself. But he said just the whole time, LaJoie was bobbing, weaving. He zigs and zags a lot, so...
And he did. He did.
Warms my heart.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed that race. I thought it was great. I like Michigan a lot, and it's a shame they only go there once. I know why that's happening. A lot of tracks don't really need 2 races because they can't fill the stands, and when they do fill the stands, they can't get them in apparently. But that was killer. I'd love to see more of that, but I don't think anyone's building a 2-mile racetrack anytime soon. Maybe they can talk to Mexico about that or something.
Yeah. Wrapping up from this weekend, I guess we got to step back a little bit and talk about the main news from last week, the Austin Dillon controversial win at Richmond.
Real fucking busy week of news, folks. There's so much that went down.
It's too much.
Too much.
NASCAR did the right thing. They rescinded his playoff eligibility, which I think I predicted that last week on the show and hoped that was going to be what happened. It made the most sense. I mean, you can give him a fine, you can take points away, but he raced that way because he knew that was going to get him in the playoffs. So taking that away from him is the best way to penalize someone. So NASCAR did the right thing. They're going to try to appeal it, which, I mean, it's very rare that appeals get overturned, so I don't see this going well for them.
You never know, man. Like, again, it's all in the data, and again, the data we've heard about seems to back up exactly back up the decision that NASCAR made. But I don't know, man. Like, stranger things have happened, and if I'm RCR, of course I'm gonna appeal that shit. Because why wouldn't you?
Do you think?
What's up?
Do you think they got Morgan & Morgan to represent them?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a B2B deal right there, and they got a guy on retainer. So
yeah, Pop's gonna show up in his "Stop the Steal" shirt.
Yeah. Which
I will say though, RCR has speed again, so it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to at least one of those cars to actually win a race. I mean, Kyle Busch got 5th, right?
Yeah,
Austin was pretty fast for a little while, so
Dylan was up there. I looked up his stats for this weekend previously, and aside from a couple wrecks, I mean, he's consistently like a top 15, top 20 car there in all his past runs.
He finished
so I mean,
17th.
Yeah, so.
I mean, it seems like whatever organizational changes they're making on the land side of things, back in the shop and all that, seem to be working. So.
Yeah. I hope Kyle Busch can keep the win streak alive. That's pretty much all I'm hoping for.
If he could just wait until after the playoffs start, that'd be great. Yeah.
Absolutely. I guess I don't care about anybody down there all that much. So, I mean, Martin Truex is safe, right? He's pretty safe.
Pretty much, unless he just bursts into flames in the next 2 races.
And then when it's Ty Gibbs, and then Bubba, and then Chastain, yeah. Yeah,
those are the 2 that are kind of, and I think Buescher too is. Yeah, Buescher, he's the other one that's right on the fence. So, but yeah, so I'd say speaking of shirts though, the playoff victory T-shirt that was released was immediately updated after the penalty was announced, and the playoff part was edited off. So that was very funny to see.
Yeah, what did it say? Let me pull it up here. It was really good. It says, "Whatever it takes."
Sure thing, bud. I noticed that Mikey and NBC both did their own polls. Like, do you agree with NASCAR's decision? And it was like both polls were like 70% agree and 30% disagree. So 30% of NASCAR fans are complete idiots.
Well, we knew that. I don't need a poll to know that.
Yeah. My favorite part of all this, though, was like right after it happened, RCR tweeted about how very disappointed they were in NASCAR's decision and they planned to appeal. And then Hamlin retweeted it and said, not as disappointed as I was off turn 4. And RCR's tweet got like 1,000 likes, and Hamlin's retweet got 16,000. And then he posted on Instagram, and he tagged the RCR account in it, which I appreciated. So
that's good. Good stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And not only that, though, of course they fix their T-shirts so they can sell that to the 15 fucking knuckle draggers who like Austin Dillon. But Austin Dillon, of course, a part owner in a PBR team. I don't even know what they're called anymore.
Not the beer. Carolina Cowboys.
Carolina Cowboys, that's it. Yeah. See, I love PBR, but I just don't like the team thing, so I don't pay any attention to that. And of course, Austin Dillon owns a team, which is good for him putting his money somewhere. I don't know, fucking. But Kid Rock was there, and apparently he had a nice little conversation with Kid Rock in one of the suites about the situation. And I just can't imagine how fucking. I want to use the R word here, but I don't want to get canceled. How fucking dumb that conversation must have been. Yeah. I would not be seeking racing career advice from Kid Rock by any stretch of the means. So yeah, that must have been.
Well, he is a similar nepo baby to Austin, so they have that in common.
Yeah, but wow, I do love dumb shit, and I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for whatever that word salad was up in the suite, watching them guys ride some bulls. So,
well, yeah, apparently they're on a first name basis, so Austin calls him Bob.
Oh,
yeah, but I guess it seemed like a short conversation that Bob, Kid Rock, was like, half the country hates me. And Austin's like, yeah, man, I can relate. It's like, that's not something to like be proud of.
Yeah.
It's not an admirable person to be in the same boat as. Like,
also, if I'm putting Kid Rock and Austin Dillon on the popularity scale, it definitely leans in one direction, and it's not Austin's.
I mean, Austin got booed during driver intros more than usual. Yeah. So.
Yeah. He did blow a kiss, though, which I thought was funny. I appreciated that.
Gross. But, yeah. Take it back.
Take it back.
Yeah. But from there, we got to go on to all the different news that also came out.
Speaking of political content here, something else coming across the border here, and it is the schedule, apparently.
Yep.
What account posted this shit?
I didn't even see it.
Latina NASCAR account or something, wasn't it?
I have no idea. But anyway, they leaked the schedule. It looks like a very official graphic, and the people who leaked it actually have a connection to NASCAR. So this seems pretty legit.
They deleted it.
They deleted it immediately, so that tells you something. It looks pretty much like what we expected. I don't think there's anything too crazy in here. The only thing that really sticks out to me is the fact that there's 2 flat mile, actually 3 if you count Phoenix. There's 3 flat mile tracks in the playoffs, which is an interesting choice. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of road courses at the end of the year too, which again, I guess that's how it's always been, but adding Mexico in kind of makes it worse. And obviously, like, the schedule was designed to fit whatever international race was going to happen here, because they never would have given Loudon a playoff date in the fall again if it wasn't for that. They don't care about me sweating my ass off that much. So, but yeah, no real surprises here except for the Clash being at Bowman Gray. I think everyone's pretty excited about that.
Yep. I can see that Michigan has moved up to June, which maybe that'll help with the rain, so that's good. It sucks that the Roval's back on there, but I guess that's the only road course in the playoffs. So
bitched plenty about Talladega last week, so that's happening in the round of 8, October 19th. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think there's anything too wild in here. There is an Easter break, but that's when Rockingham's going to happen for Xfinity and trucks. So yeah, pretty standard issue shit here. Nothing to be too upset about. But yeah, just definitely a weird choice to put all those very similar tracks all in the same, like, 10 race stretch. I don't really understand that from a competition standpoint, but I don't know.
Yeah. With Mexico being officially added according to this leak.
According to the Mexicans.
Someone had posted the Spanish broadcast of the Richmond race, and those announcers were not, coy about how dirty of a move they thought.
What was the translation? It's like there's NASCAR and then there's this dirtiness.
Yeah.
Or filthiness.
They called him Dirty Dylan was what they called him. But so based on that, neither one of the RCR drivers are going to be very welcome there.
Well, Kyle can't go anyway, but But yeah, Mexico. That'll be fun. I guess. Again, I think there's already too many road courses, but that facility is beautiful. I'm curious to see what layout they use for the Mexican race, but there is that awesome, like, stadium section that is unlike anything in the world, really. And it'll be really it's going to be a visually nice race. There's no question about that. Of course, that circuit has been in Formula One for a long time. It was around for a long time in the 80s and 90s, then it went away for a while. Now it's back, and yeah, it's a cool place. And of course, NASCAR went there back in the mid 2000s with the Xfinity Series, so nothing we haven't seen before.
Moving on to other news, I already mentioned the Haas Xfinity news, but AJ Allmendinger, excuse me, is going to be yet again moving back up to the Cup Series full time.
Cup driver again.
What the hell is going on over there, Collie? Good Lord. I
think it's a good call. I mean, you got 6 road course races, and that guy can win there. He's good at the plate races, and he can put together a decent intermediate race whenever they pop up. So, I like him. Talent pool, he's the best.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the hell they were thinking putting Hemrick in the car over him this year, because, I mean, clearly that has not panned out, and who the hell knows what's going to happen with SVG and all that stuff next year. But good for AJ. We're still waiting to hear if anything. There was supposed to be an announcement for RCR on Saturday, but that never happened, I guess.
It was just Austin Dillon blowing a kiss.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, I've heard what's going to happen to SVG next year, but I'm sworn to secrecy. But AJ, his contract at Colleague is through 2029, so I think he made it clear that he wants to retire in the Cup level, and Chris Rice and them wanted to make sure they made that happen for him. So
I mean, he's done so much for that team, and he's gotten most of the trophies over there. So I would, if I were in their shoes, I'd do the same. And he's fucking talented. He's not washed by any stretch of the matter. So I think that out of all the available guys you can probably afford to get. And you got a guy like AJ on contract, you better pick his ass up. You better pick him up.
Next bit of news is another unfortunate.
Speaking of guys losing rides,
yeah. Kurt Busch. Oh, go ahead.
Before we moved on, I just want to elaborate on the Clash going to Bowman Gray before we breeze past that.
Yes.
That I did put down my deposit to see Tim Duggar play in the freezing cold at Bowman Gray.
Fuck yes.
Next February. So
very nice. I thought about it. It's too close to the Chili Bowl for me.
Yeah.
How much for the tickets?
They didn't say. It was a $25 deposit to be able to get on like a pre-sale list before it goes on sale to the public. So they didn't name any ticket prices, and they didn't say how many tickets you would be allowed to buy either. So because that place only holds 17,000. So
yeah, that's actually more than I thought.
Yeah. Well, that's what someone told me. That could be false.
Yeah, but that'll be cool. I'm happy. I know a lot of people have emotions about Bowman Gray, but I disagree with them, and I'm very excited to see this at a place like what is it? The oldest track in NASCAR now? I know Martinsville is 1949, right? So it's in that era for sure.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Anyway,
yeah.
Back to the bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was announced pretty much right after we got off recording last week that Kurt Busch had been arrested for DUI. I guess last Monday, I want to say, in Iredell County, wherever the hell that is in North Carolina.
It's right outside Charlotte.
Yeah. So I mean, I think he blew a .17, which is pretty good as far as
respectable.
Your BAC, yeah, as far as your BAC is concerned. I think it was like a 60. It was like a 60 and a 40, 60 something or 45. So not even that crazy of a speed, but definitely, while we've all done it, we can't advocate for driving drunk, especially if you're someone like Kurt who's had his issues with driving. I don't even know if he technically got DUI years ago, but there was some sketchy driving erratically and
in Arizona,
where it was like it was suspicion of DUI, but he might have gotten that part scrubbed. But yeah, I mean, feel bad for Kurt. I mean, obviously he seemed to be doing good, even though his career was unfortunately cut short, and he still has not been allowed to get back in a car. And I have to assume that maybe that has something to do with why this happened, as far as maybe just partying a little too hard these days. I mean, shit, man, it's Monday night.
What was his position
what the hell are you doing?
2311, it was like the director of fun or some shit.
He's got some role there, but I don't know what that is. But
he referred to himself as being something like that, and I would imagine that's probably going to be taking a back seat for a little bit. But I hope Kurt gets it together. I hope he's all right. I hope this is not an indicator of greater issues, because I know he definitely had some rough patches there, and I think it's amazing the sort of face turn he's had in the NASCAR world, because he was about as hated as you could possibly get.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was in the 2000s. For those who weren't around, I mean, he was a major dickhead. Like, obviously preceding his brother, who also was a major dickhead in that time period. But he was very much disliked, and lost rides over his behavior and stuff like that. And kind of like Earnhardt and Gordon and a bunch of other drivers, towards the end, the last handful of years of his full-time career, like, turned things around and was still winning, and turned his life around and turned his attitude around, and became somewhat of a fan favorite. And again, unfortunately, his career was cut short, and it's always a bummer when that happens. So best wishes to Kurt. Nobody likes to see this happen. So hopefully he gets sorted.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, anytime that Kurt talks about being forced to retire, you can tell it really fucked him up, and he gets really emotional about it. And if you've paid attention on social media since then, he has been partying a ton, and having a sponsor like Nasty Beast is not helping that. So
I would imagine it's not.
Maybe he needs a new sponsor, or a different sponsor. Maybe a AA sponsor.
Best wishes, Kurt. Again, we all hate to see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This next bit of news, this one's all you, Ashley.
Speaking of spending your time on extracurricular shit.
Yeah,
it's not just me. Rob loves this as much as I do.
Listen, you're the one who loves the stories more than anybody I know. So you get to do
I
this.
love my soaps. Well, if anyone's on Twitter and follows Scott McLaughlin, he has been live tweeting his very first experience in life watching the Jersey Shore. So he's been binge watching it with his wife and live tweeting, and it's been amazing.
Yeah,
so,
I recommend giving him a follow for this alone.
Yeah.
What a great show Jersey Shore is.
I just love trash television so much, and Jersey Shore is near the top of the list. It's an all-timer.
It is an all-timer. Yeah, I definitely rewatched most of it recently, up until they started splitting off into the weird spinoffs and all that. And I even watched the shit where they're like 40 and going to Italy together. I still watch it to this day.
Yep. I've never seen it, and even though I went to high school with JWoww, zero desire to watch it. So
quality television, I recommend it. So
it's too bad.
I love trash TV, but it just I don't know. No, thank you.
A couple of my favorite tweets from Scotty Mac, referring to the infamous note. He tweeted, "No way they're at an internet cafe for this thing," and I was like, man, I forgot internet cafes exist. And then another, yikes, Angelina is back, which is also how I feel about
Angelina. That's how everyone felt.
So.
The Staten Island Ferry.
Yeah. And then he posted a picture of him and his wife, and the caption was in gym tan laundry, and they were at the gym, so he's really embracing it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Scotty Mac is already, he's a hell of a race car driver. I love IndyCar, but I would really love to see him come over and whoop SVG's ass some more in a stock car, because he's about as good as there's ever been. But yeah, for this alone, he's definitely rocketed up the power rankings for me of dudes I want to drink a beer with.
For sure.
And we would definitely watch some Jersey Shore together. I wonder if you've seen Below Deck. You think you've seen Below Deck?
I don't know. Tell him to add it to his list.
I'll tweet him, yeah. Well, speaking of people who are on the internet way too much,
yes.
We're about to sink into the Darf of the Week segment here, but before we do, one of our, we talk about Scott Bloomquist being the greatest of all time, right? Which he was. This particular, I don't even know what you would call this woman.
YouTuber. Call her a YouTuber.
That's the nicest way of it.
Yeah. Truly one of the greatest unhinged NASCAR YouTubers of all time.
Yes.
She's been the Darf of the Week on this show at least once. She probably loves Johnny Benson more than Johnny loves himself. Of course, we're talking about Ultimate 23 Dragon. She is back, folks. She came back. Austin Dillon playing bumper cars at Richmond awoke the beast, and she has returned with a 20-minute video just screaming about how unfair it was that Austin Dillon got penalized because Denny Hamlin controls NASCAR and he's a dictator and blah blah blah.
Dictator Karen Hamlin, as she calls him.
Yeah, it is just absolutely unhinged shit, and I'm so here for it. The room she's sitting in smells like baloney, and it's just fucking. Yeah, I don't know. That's not a statement on her. It's just the room. I've been in a room like that before. I think I know what it smells like. I don't think she smokes weed either, because that would be the other alternative. It just smells like fucking, resin and shit. But yeah, Ultimate 23 Dragon is back. I'm sure we'll post a little clip of at least one of the highlights from this 20-minute rant that we received, and we're all better for it. I'm so happy she's back.
Yeah, my favorite comment under that YouTube video was they called her a loud prison mic impersonator.
She does kind of look like that with the bandana.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on underneath that thing. I don't want to know, but I do want to know.
My bad, bud. Amazingly, this is not our Darf of the Week. This is not the dumbest shit I've seen all week. Our Darf of the Week comes from Twitter, and we haven't talked about this because it's kind of a dumb conversation. The whole Larson, Max Verstappen thing, Again, I think it's a fair conversation to be had, and truthfully, I would love to see the two of them race each other. I think it'd be fucking awesome to see Verstappen get into a midget or a sprint car or whatever, or Larson get into an open wheel car. I think there's plenty of opportunity to hash that out, and I would love to see that shit because it would be awesome. But you know how racing is. It's tough to really gauge who is the greatest because the disciplines are so wildly different. And Max Verstappen's path to the top of Formula One is worlds away from Kyle Larson's path to where he is in the U.S. now. I would argue that, not to get too into it, I'd argue that Larson's sort of body of work is a little more convincing because he's just done more. Yeah. But it's, you just don't know until you get to see him head to head, which is probably never going to happen. Maybe they've raced on iRacing. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he knows something we don't. But anyway, F1 fans are, of course, snobby as always.
I'll say this. Max, I might be becoming a Max fan because Max, aside from being a cat guy, he gave a very good response to this, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was very
especially you can't tell. You can't really tell.
And it wasn't a response. He actually filmed this back in June, but it's just now getting circulated. But it was a very humble response, saying we shouldn't even have this debate because everyone is good in their own right.
Which is great.
Yeah, it's like, man.
Larson kind of said that as well, but he definitely said, I bet I could beat that guy. So.
Yeah.
Which I respect
that
too. Yeah. I do think he is the best race car driver in America, so I would love to see it myself, but
for me, I don't understand why. I feel like we just live in this Larson echo chamber where he's the one shoved down our throats when SVG or McLaughlin or Reddick or Bell could also go head to head. And how did Max get dragged into this? I mean, I feel like fans dragged him into this, but.
Well, I think it's because
you win as much as Larson does, Yeah,
you win as much in everything you get in. He didn't win an Indy, but he certainly showed he knew what he was doing there, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him do much better next year. So when you combine that with all the Cup stuff and how he wins almost every dirt race he enters, that's why he's the one that keeps getting brought up.
I'll say this. I don't have a car to offer. I have nothing to offer, but I will be in Tulsa. I'll come say hi. Max, come race a midget. Let's see it. I'd love to see this. I want to see him come race dirt because I bet he'd be fucking good at it because he does have great car control. So, but anyway, our dart for the week comes from I don't even know what the original post was, but it was on Twitter. A lot of F1 fans getting all pee-pee-hearted about this and doing the who's Kyle Larson? I don't know what the fuck that is. And, whatever. If you don't watch this racing.
I wish I didn't.
But this guy comes in with the dumbest thing. And again, when you're up against Ultimate 23 Dragon, this is an Austin Dillon Richmond moment right here. Not the wreck necessarily, but just the fact that he was able to lead a bunch of laps in that race. This is the equivalency. David versus Goliath here. This guy goes by Falcon on Twitter. Falcon D, that's with a K, K-Y-N-D, whatever, who gives a shit. He says, LMAO, he's not even better than Logan Sargent. Quote that. Which, I don't care how you feel about Kyle Larson, one way or the other, or Max Verstappen or anything. If you think that Logan Sargent is more talented than 34 of the Cup guys, then I've got a fucking bridge to sell you.
Yeah.
That is just as dumb as it gets. I'm sure, Logan is good for about 15th in a truck race, I bet. And there's a whole conversation to be had around that, but if you think Logan Sargent is better than Kyle Larson at driving a race car, then I don't even know what to tell you. I'm going to sentence you to watching all of Jersey Shore on your phone.
That's not a punishment.
For this guy, I bet it would be. Well, until Drive to Survive comes back, and he'll have something to watch. But yeah, I'm going to imagine a Formula One snob's not watching Jersey Shore. So that's your punishment, and you get to do it again on the famed upside down milk crate behind the Dollar General that I always talk about. Watch it on your phone. So yeah, fuck this guy.
There we go. Yeah,
that's a punishment.
Hate Kyle Larson, and even I will agree that he's better than Logan Sargent, but there will always be someone who is better and bigger and badder that maybe hasn't just been discovered or been financed. Or
it's not Logan Sargent, we'll say that. So
no.
I'd argue that Kyle Busch is in that same conversation, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of NASCAR guys who would probably be on the same level if given the opportunity.
Bell, Reddick.
Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I'd love to see it. Put something together, fucking Red Bull or whatever. Come on.
Now it's time for Rob's segment, the short track septic tank, which I was not the only one to go to a racetrack.
Right. Forgot I had to talk some more. Yeah, I went to Thompson.
Spent more time on a racetrack than you did, unfortunately, Brian.
Yeah, it's
yes, unfortunately, that is probably true.
Yes, last Wednesday, as all of this crazy NASCAR news was coming down, I was sitting in my little lawn chair in Turn 4 at Thompson, the Thompson 150. It's always a nice midweek show for the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Absolutely perfect, not to rub it in, Brian, perfect night to be sitting out on a racetrack. It was like low 70s, It was humid, but it wasn't that humid. It was like that sort of like comforting blanket kind of humid. It was absolutely beautiful. Patrick Emmerling just absolutely laid an ass whooping on everybody, led wire to wire. It was a pretty good race. Not too exciting. Some action here and there, but races at Thompson can end up being sort of freight trainy, and this was sort of the deal. There were a few cautions. Jake Johnson just about took the damn wall down. I'm glad he's okay. But I just wish that fucking Old Blue would find a driver that I want to pull for, because I would. I have the t-shirt, but I won't wear it because I don't like Jake Johnson, and I didn't like Brian Narducci either, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. I'm glad he's okay, because that was a really ugly hit. But yeah, Patrick Emmerling just absolutely just beating the shit out of everybody. That was a cool show. New England Super Modifieds were there. I forget who won. I didn't watch that race because I ended up standing in the fucking beer line for 20 minutes. But those cars, they don't really put on great races, to be honest, but they are incredible to watch, especially with the wing that moves because of the air. And it's fucking cool. But yeah, absolutely packed to the gills for a Wednesday night, even for like a icebreaker or a World Series show. There was thousands and thousands of people there for this. To be at Thompson past few weeks for some of the local shows that are pretty sparsely attended, and we got low car counts and all that. It was nice to see a midweek show that was as well attended as it was. Shout out to the American Canadian Tour guys for continuing to keep that track alive and putting on big events at Thompson, because it's I love that fucking place so much. I will cry my eyes out the day that it goes away. But we got a few more races left there this year, particularly the World Series. I don't know if we'll be able to make it back until the World Series when the Modified Tour comes back, as well as the Tri-Track, and I think the Valenti guys are going to be there too, as well as like 55 other divisions. So it's great. But yeah, go to Thompson if you can. It's fucking awesome. Over in the dirt world, of course, the Topless 100 was this weekend. This is a race I had pinned on my calendar that I wanted to go to. My cousin Jim, if you're listening to this, what's going on? Sorry I didn't make it down. We were planning on going to this because it's in Batesville Motor Speedway, which is about 25 minutes from where my family lives. Kind of glad I didn't make it because it looked like it was about 300 degrees with 600% humidity the entire time, and I just will wilt.
Sounds accurate for this time of year.
Yeah, Eastern Arkansas is a swamp, and it's tough out there. So, bummed I missed it. But the Topless 100, of course, it's another one of the bigger, I don't know if I call it a crown jewel, but it's up there. One of the big legendary races of the year. Of course, Tim McCready finally getting a win for the Rocket One team. That was pretty cool to see. RTJ picking up a win for Kohler on the Friday night prelim. It didn't run as late as I expected it to. I honestly had coffee ready to go because sometimes the Topless will go till, tomorrow. And it ran pretty late, but it wasn't all that bad. But yeah, Tim McCready finally getting a win there. They haven't really touched victory lane since Hudson O'Neal left. Or got fired or whatever the fuck happened there. But that was cool to see. And again, one of these days I'll make it to Batesville for the Topless. It's so weird seeing those late models without roofs on them. I feel like my brain is playing tricks on me the entire time I watch it. But great show nonetheless. Over in the World of Outlaws side, Brian Shirley asserted himself with back-to-back wins this weekend. Back at Keita and Highland. Brandon Shepard retaining the points lead over Nick Hoffman and Bobby Pierce. Bobby Pierce is coming, though, and Nick Hoffman's kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, not having quite as many good runs as he probably liked to, but we're in for a really good points battle there. And also on the Lucas Oil side of things, they're getting pretty close to their playoff cutoff, so that fight for the top four is getting pretty good. Of course, Lucas Oil does it a little differently than NASCAR does. There's a 7-race stretch for the championship, which culminates at Eldora. A little bit more of a fair way to handle it than NASCAR does, but I've spent plenty of breath on my problems with NASCAR playoffs, so I won't bother you with that in the short track septic tank. Oh man, but yeah, good racing there. Good for Brian Shirley. He seems to be the only guy who's been able to take any wins away from Bobby Pierce lately. On the sprint car side of things, World of Outlaws, Donnie Schatz won at Jacksonville. Carson Macedo got the prelim win night there. Donnie Schatz is starting to close down that point lead. It'd be amazing if we can catch David Gravel, but we're going to see a fight, it looks like, which is awesome. Of course, the World of Outlaws have a regular, real, actual point battle going on, no playoffs, something like that, so that's exciting. Over in high limit, Kyle Larson won in Tulare. That's a sick little racetrack. He won in controversial fashion. There was, of course, high limit's his series. There was a spin in front of him, and he ended up spinning to avoid the wreck, but he got his position back, which is not something that really happens in sprint car racing all that often, but in the high limit rulebook, apparently that's okay. And I don't think anyone really would have batted too much of an eye at it if it wasn't for Kyle Larson being the guy. But he went out there on old tires yet again and whooped their asses. It was pretty cool. Tyler Courtney won at Kings, and then James McFadden picked up a win at Placerville. They got a few more races out in California before the West Coast swing wraps up, and that's all going to be on Flow Racing. And another sad piece of news to deliver, Eloy Gutierrez. He was the guy who pretty much came up with and implemented the timing and scoring system used in World of Outlaws and a bunch of other places. He's a fellow New Mexican, and he's been around sprint car racing for a long time. He passed away this week, and I know a lot of people are hurting. So thoughts and prayers with his family and the entire World of Outlaw and sprint car community. He was a good guy, and he definitely had some innovations that sort of changed the game when it came to timing and scoring. There's a lot more stories about him, and there's a nice little write-up on the World of Outlaws website about him if you want to read more about him and learn about him. But that is the short track septic tank for this week. There's all kinds of shit happening this weekend. I don't have a list of it, but there's plenty happening. There was a cars race this weekend too, but I didn't watch it at Ace. You guys watch that at all?
No,
I did not.
Okay. Well. Sorry, folks. Google it.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting ever closer to the World 100 in 2 weeks. So that's kind of what my brain is focusing on right now. I just cannot wait to get there. So
now I'm gonna see if I can make it down. I'll have to figure out the schedule and shit. I might have to try to make it down for this memorial. We'll see.
It's at noon.
See what happens.
It's at noon on Saturday. So right when the gates open.
I could theoretically make it. We'll see. We'll figure it out. It's still got a few weeks, though.
Yeah, but that's the short track septic tank for this week. I know I'm missing 1,000 things, but that's all my brain had room for this week. And of course, rest in peace, Scott Bloomquist. It just is not going to be the same without you. Got another little shot of Crown ready to go down the hatch here for old Black Sunshine. Now that I've flushed that into my body, we'll go ahead and flush the septic tank.
So, that brings us to the video of the week segment, and as mentioned last week, Lazy Stoner, listener Lazy Stoner, sent in this fun little special from what was the name of the TV here?
NASCAR Racetracks.
News 36 Charlotte. This was a sports special. I guess, makes sense, obviously. I don't remember, or I don't know what your guys' local TV stations were like as far as motorsports coverage when you were a kid. Being that we had two pretty popular dirt tracks, we had our Channel 10, which was the ABC affiliate. We had a guy named Dan Murphy that did a lot of racing coverage and did some special coverage and stuff like that. So even for the Northeast, like NASCAR was always part of the Sunday broadcast and local racing and stuff like that. But obviously being in Charlotte, I'm sure they did a lot more as far as racing coverage was concerned. And I learned through this broadcast that both this producer, Jim Solania, and Benny Parsons, who was on this special, every Monday they did like a special report, which I did not realize that Benny worked with a local TV station like this. But this was a special broadcast that was basically a compilation of the different music video montages that they've used throughout the years on this local TV station.
Which, by the way, shout out to Lazy Stoner for giving us more Benny Parsons content.
Yes. I mean, not to mention old TV shit, but yeah, any Benny stuff I will always watch.
Huge shout out for that. I don't know if you knew how much we love Benny Parsons on this show, but yeah, this was a home run right here.
Yep. So this show, it looks like they filmed it at the Sandwich Construction Company, which, for those who don't remember, before NASCAR Cafe and Lancaster's Barbecue, like this was the NASCAR restaurant in the Charlotte area. As you can see, there's sheet metal and stuff all throughout the place. And I just remember seeing this place in Stock Car magazine when I was a kid and always wanted to go and never had the chance to. But, they filmed it there. And like I said, this is basically just a, compilation of these different music videos. And the first one, they
you like
used a
Heartland
song.
rock.
Yeah, because that's pretty much all you were getting here with this. The first song was "Rev It Up" by Jerry Harrison, and really, the gist of this video is it was mainly shots of women at the track. A lot of them like eating and drinking and just kind of sitting there, which was very. I don't know how you felt about that, True Love, being as the woman on the show.
Whoever was the cameraman for this, you could tell they were a fan of blondes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a preference, but yeah, the lady eating the popsicle, I was like, it's too much. Just let her eat the fucking popsicle in peace.
Just blondes observing and consuming. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm. And aside from the women, it looks like, I don't know exactly what race this was from, but it was DW winning in the Tide Monte Carlo, so I'm assuming it was a Charlotte race. I don't know which one he won in that time period,
definitely
but maybe
Charlotte,
it was.
I don't know.
I think it might have been one of the second, like the 500. Maybe he won one of those at this time period, but weird way to start off this whole video.
Hell of a way to start it off.
Yeah.
For me personally, I had never heard the song before, so going into it, hearing the song, I was like, oh, okay, so it's made up music video montages and made up songs.
It does not sound like a real song.
Yeah, in my mind, I was like, oh, this song's terrible. They must have made it up for this video, but turns out that was not the case.
Yeah, that was a real attempt.
Yeah.
The next video was the premise that they used was a lot of drivers coming from small towns. So they used "Small Town" by John Mellencamp. And there were a lot of shots of just different stars and like shots of small towns, like trains and sidewalks and stuff like that. And there were a bunch of like baby pictures and high school pictures from like Earnhardt and Dick Trickle and Rusty Wallace. And
I never saw the original Small Town video, but I bet you it was pretty much the same shit.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure they probably lifted a bit of that from that video. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this one. I don't know what you guys thought of it, but
I mean, there was some good footage in there. It was, there was some childhood driver pictures that I don't think I had seen before. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Fucking tired of that song, though. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Now this video did feature all the commercials, which I obviously love, and the first commercial break was just two. There was a Tide with Bleach commercial focusing on stocks, and then Town and Country Ford, which sponsored this show, they had commercials in every single break. So it was basically just like a guy talking about financing cars and stuff like that. Coming back from the break, this next video was paying tribute to the Ford Thunderbird, and the song was Silver Thunderbird by Mark Cohn of Walkin' in Memphis fame.
Bet you didn't know he had another song.
I mean, yeah, I did not.
I had no idea.
I did not.
Well, wasn't a horrible song, other than the fact that he like derides other manufacturers and especially no foreign cars. So I thought that was funny. And this was obviously footage of all the different Fords from the late 80s, and also a random old 50s Thunderbird thrown in the mix. A lot of shots of the cars in the pits, cars going into haulers and stuff like that. There was a quote though from Bill Elliott, which I do have a little issue with. The quote was, "Grew up in a Ford family. If I drove anything else, my daddy would kill me." Well, where was your dad in 2001, Bill?
I think he was deceased.
Okay, so all right, that makes sense.
How does that make you feel, Brian?
Money talks.
Right. Hey, listen. Nobody in my family got tattoos until my grandfather died because he was against them. So I get that sense.
Yeah,
so,
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a little bit better than the first two, I thought. The next commercial break, again, we see the same Town and Country ad. There is a Duke Power ad with a guy climbing underneath someone's house, trying to read a meter and then getting stuck underneath it. Then there was one of a couple WTDR country radio ads with basically a bunch of, the best-known country stars of the time, including George Jones and Travis Tritt and a handful of others, basically just saying, I love my country music. So great. I got a kick out of that. And then here's the aforementioned News 36 NASCAR coverage ad that I mentioned. That's where I learned that Benny was involved in this broadcast every week. So next up, this was a weird premise where they kind of framed it in like drivers getting satisfied by winning, and the song was Satisfied by Richard Marx. Like, I just thought that was very much a stretch.
Yeah.
as far as yeah. And this was like all the old footage was just shots from Charlotte, including a lot like shots of when the track was built and first opened and stuff dating back from the 50s and 60s up until the modern time. So didn't like the song or the premise, but the actual clips themselves were interesting enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shitty foundation, but the house was good.
Yeah. My mom was a big Richard Marx fan in the 90s.
Nice.
She was hot for Richard, so.
Hot for Richard.
I hated him.
Familiar with the catalog.
Next commercial break is here, and once again, Town and Country. There is a nationwide insurance ad promoting a prom program against drunk driving, which jumping back to our previous segment.
Kurt Busch didn't see that ad.
Yeah.
He did not make a prom promise.
No.
And then definitely the most controversial ad, as far as I'm concerned, one for Ivory Soap that at one point showed a bare baby's ass in this commercial, which you definitely cannot do. I was a little startled by that. Like, I know back when, baby nudity was not quite as taboo as it is these days. But
as you were out watching it on your phone, having dinner with Mike on Saturday night.
No, we did not watch that. So that was very disconcerting. And then an express buses ad with people driving bumper cars in quote unquote traffic. So that brings us to the final segment of the show. This is a Richard Petty segment with Against the Wind by Bob Seger. Not the worst song that they used. And granted, this was filmed in 92.
Probably the best song.
So, yeah. This was filmed in 92, which obviously was Richard's last year, and there's a bunch of quotes from him. And one thing I learned that I guess I didn't know was he was like the only driver to run a mirror in his driver window, which obviously he couldn't get away with doing that now, but back then I guess it didn't matter. Probably didn't help his aerodynamics at all, I'll say that. But they used that mirror as a way, like basically they showed all these old clips and quotes from Richard, and they showed him on the mirror itself.
They brought back
editing
the circle graphic in the middle that we love.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, and I take it back. This wasn't the best song. I forgot about the last one, so.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew you'd like that one, True Love.
Yeah.
Before the final video, they bring out Doug Stacker, who's a video producer, and he talks about making the videos, and he's basically just like, well, you tell me what song to use, and then I go and find clips for it. And he said each one of these montages. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say he goes and digs up his favorite shots of blondes.
He does. Yeah.
He said each one of these videos takes about 20 hours, which is insane. And I'm sure you could probably make one of these in a tenth of that time today.
That old video splicing shit and all that. That was
editing was not the same as it is today. And then the last video is a song called "Stand on It" by Mel McDaniel, which was a decent song. And this
it's
one
more
was
than decent, buddy.
this one was a lot of like crash and rough driving footage, and there was a lot of clips of a Legends race that they ran, the Bull Ring part of Charlotte, right on the front stretch there, and trying to think who was in that. Childress and Junior Johnson and Gail Yarbrough and all Legends guys.
I think that video's on YouTube of the actual race.
I'm pretty sure it is, and I want to say I think Elmo Langley won that actually, because I had a T-shirt.
That sounds right.
From that race.
That sounds right. Yeah, I love this fucking song so much.
It was
originally a Bruce Springsteen number.
I did not know that.
Mel McDaniel had a hit with it. And in fact, I love this so much that I'm trying to convince my band to cover it because I love it so much.
Well, now you need to.
Stand on it. Come on, boy, stand on it. Well, Jimmy Lee will look around like all of it. I'm done. I keep going if you want, but I don't know the words all that well.
But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. I thought this was a fun video. Definitely not the most. Didn't bring up as many talking points as some of the other things we've talked about on the show. But
it did make me itch. I did not itch after watching this. So
no, well that's good.
Yeah.
It was fun, and again, anytime old, weird, obscure shit like this that this only had like 600 views on it or something like that. So. I love stuff like this, so anybody listening, do like Lazy Stoner, send them our way, and we'll good chance we'll make it on the show at some point.
Yeah, exactly. But, I say it every week. We love the submissions. We love talking to you guys. So please keep sending them because you guys are good at this shit. So this was very enjoyable.
One of my favorite things that we didn't mention from this video is. A couple times randomly they threw in this great graphic of a CD with little tiny race cars going around it, which I loved. And also, at the beginning of this video, Brian, you mentioned that this was at the Sandwich Construction Company, which I had never heard of. So watching this video, the whole time I was like, holy shit, what is this place they're at? And in my mind, I was like, is this like early Lancasters? Because there's so much sheet metal everywhere and there's so much cool shit. I was like, so frantically Googling, like trying to find early pictures of Lancasters. But then at the end of the video, it said what the place was. And then I Googled this place, the Sandwich Construction Company, and there's some pictures on there, but there was a news article that came up about this place from the early 2000s that I think not Marty McGee, what's the other guy?
McFly? Somebody
at ESPN had written that this place in the 80s and 90s was like a hangout for the drivers in Charlotte.
Ryan McGee?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. No. But all that memorabilia that's in there was like loaned to this restaurant for them to put on display under but the article that I read was focused on Benny Parsons' wife, who said that we loaned a ton of Benny Parsons stuff to them under for free, just saying if this place ever goes out of business then we get it back. Well, apparently this place went out of business and the owner moved to Myrtle Beach. And Benny Parsons' wife started finding really obscure, rare Benny Parsons memorabilia on eBay.
Shit.
So this guy, so all that shit in that restaurant, he just tried to hawk on eBay while he hightailed it.
Damn.
So that sucked.
I wonder if that's where my Ernie Irvin fire suit came from, because I don't know where my mom got it, but my mom lives in the Myrtle Beach area, and she got it at some auction of a former sports bar owner, apparently. So
there you
go.
Was him. There it is.
Interesting.
Brian, part of the problem. That's
hey, listen.
Common law right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Good find, True Love.
Yeah, really.
Well, I really wanted to know more about this place because I wasn't familiar with it, so.
Well, like I said, I just remember when I was a kid in Stock Car Magazine, they did a whole story about it, and that's why I knew about it. So,
yeah.
So that brings us on to the video of the week, and I know I told you guys I had a good one this week, and that makes you nervous because you know how I pick videos, and this one was another listener submission. So Sunday at the race, Mike suggested, like, if we get home early enough, we should watch Driven finally. And while I was into that idea, by the time we got home, I was pretty tired and I wasn't really up for watching a whole movie. But he's like, well, I got something else, and he pulled up an episode of Undercover Boss, starring Steve Phelps from 2010. And I have never watched this show, didn't hear anything about it, and we watched it, and it is great. Like, there is so much stuff going on and so many funny things to call out. And this was before Steve Phelps was president or wherever the hell he is now. He was just like the marketing director, and they have him go undercover, which is very funny. And unfortunately, this is not on YouTube. However, it is for free on Pluto. So if you have a smart TV, there's a good chance you probably already have the Pluto TV app on it. If not, just go to pluto.tv, and all of the Undercover Boss episodes are on demand. So it is, let me just double check here because I wrote it down as far as the exact episode number. It is Season 2, Episode 5, aired in October 24th of 2010. So that is going to be the video of the week. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. There's no stop motion or anything in it. It's very fun video. And as actual NASCAR fans, there's so much shit to dissect as far as what Steve Phelps is trying to learn about what's going on at the track. So very fun video. I'm excited to hear what you guys think about it.
Now, back in the day, I will say that Undercover Boss was one of my guilty pleasures. So I did watch that show back then, but I can't remember if I saw this one or not. But I feel like once I start watching it, it'll jog my memory. So
nice.
Yeah, Mike was definitely enjoying how pissed off and combative I was about what I was seeing on the screen. So I have a feeling you guys will enjoy it.
We'll have to watch Driven in the off season though, because that movie is it's really good. It's a good movie.
I bet it is. I bet it is.
It's that's worth at least an hour of content right there.
Well, I guess it's going to bring us to the end of the show, and I am definitely not doing any racing stuff this weekend. Daytona is Saturday night, and Xfinity is Friday night, so I'll for sure be watching those. What about you guys?
No, nothing for me.
No, yeah, same. I'll just be watching Daytona to see how god-awful Ty Gibbs' Ronald Reagan paint scheme is.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that.
Yeah. It's so
I think
gross. Did you guys know that? Sorry to cut you off, but did you know Scott Stapp plays Frank Sinatra in that movie?
Yes, I did. I think I was I was like one of the only people that I talked to about this that knew this movie was happening. Like everybody was just like, "What the fuck?" Like, "Oh yeah, it's got to be that movie." So
I'd watch a Reagan movie if they left in the fucking Iran-Contra and drug smuggling shit, but I'm sure that's not going to make the cut.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm sure it's a propaganda piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of racing to watch this weekend, though. I'll say that. The one thing I forgot in the septic tank was this weekend is the Oxford 250. Of course, that's on Racing America. It's a big fucking show. Probably one of the biggest late model races of the year. Also, High Limits going to Silver Dollar Nationals. That's good. And Silver Dollar in California. That's good shit. Lucas Oil's in Lakeside. All sorts of shit going on. So, and plus, of course, the always entertaining shit show at Daytona. Which should be our cutoff race, but it's not because of the Olympics. So next year it'll return to its throne, and it's always a hell of a show. It's hard to hate Daytona.
Yeah, we got a nice little battle for the regular season championship and at the playoff bubble. So
yes, we do.
Should be good. We'll see if Austin Dillon can wreck the leader to win this race, or if Kyle Busch blocks for him under Pop's orders, so
which Kyle will not do. So.
Yeah,
we'll get to see a nice little meltdown from Pop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Cool. Well, as always, you can follow us on Instagram at Meet Me at Applebee's and on Twitter at Meet Me at the Bees. I am Speedway Screens on all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com and. someone will be getting that Corey LaJoy koozie in an order someday. So
don't
probably
threaten them.
Yeah, it'll probably be a regular customer. I have a handful. Maybe it'll be Rob. Maybe it'll be somebody else.
It will not be me. I'm not ordering from you ever again until that koozie is eliminated. So. Seriously though, Brian tells quality shit, so if you're not afraid of a Corey LaJoy koozie like I am, I don't want that curse in my house, but Brian's got good shit, so give him your money.
Yeah.
Just throw away his trash for him.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Meemaw,
Yeah, it's the same.
Meemaw.cjb.net.
Yeah, you can follow my progress as I pimp my ride Rascal Scooter. Some of your favorite drink recipes.
Fuck yeah. Rob Motes _ unofficial on Instagram. My band's called These Wild Plains. We're actually playing a show on Friday night. Anybody in the Connecticut, Massachusetts area, we're doing a little acoustic set at the Stomping Ground in Putnam on Friday night. It's a free show at 8 o'clock, and we got Charlie Marie coming in to sing some songs too, and if you've heard her, she's a lot better than we are. So definitely worth your money because it doesn't cost you anything to get in. So I recommend coming to see that.
Are you going to play Stand On It acoustic?
We don't know it yet, but I might throw it on the boys.
Okay.
Cool.
When it dies, you can figure it out, so to stand on it. Stand on it. Gotta love Mel McDaniel.
And with that, it looks like our check is here.
You not a Mel McDaniel fan? Well, let's
I don't know him.
Down fiddle and you down the bowl, kick off your shoes and you throw it on the floor.
Oh, that song.
Dance
I know
in the
that
kitchen
song.
till the morning light. Louisiana Saturday night. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, he's got a bunch of hits. He's a dog.
Well, those crown shots are kicking in for Rob. So before we get kicked out of here, we'll pay for this check. And thanks for joining us again at Applebee's. And we will talk to you next week.